I now take this opportunity to introduce our next guest, Mr. Raman Bansal. Sir, may I have your permission to begin? Thank you, sir. Sir has completed his schooling from Loyola High School, Pune, and further studied petrochemical engineering from Maharashtra Institute of Technology, Pune, until 2006. He hails from a family of entrepreneurs who have always ventured into new businesses. He has a developed mindset of the ultimate goal to be self sustainable and independent. Even though he had a family business set up to lead, yet after college he worked at Deepak Nitrite Limited for 1 year, moving ahead to then worked in his father company's RSB Chemical Industries for 2 years. In 2009, he ventured in starting his own company, Fortius Marketing LLP, where marketing consultancy and direct sales options are marketed to companies looking to break into industrial markets. Sir also has a passion for football and is a part-time football coach who teaches football to kids under 12. This passion drove him to start his second company in May 2015, Zona Mista LLP, which offers consultancy on football operations and management to Indian League football clubs. We request you, sir, to kindly enlighten the batch.
In 5 minutes.
So pointer is for forward, is for backward, that is for top.
Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. As you know, you've all been speaking to, you've been listening to a lot of speakers today. I hope I don't bore you too much. I'm your second last speaker for today, as I hear. Welcome. I would like to introduce myself first. My name is Aman Bansal, and I am an entrepreneur. I am an entrepreneur because I've started 2 companies by myself. The first one, Fortius Marketing LLP. Atul, before this, spoke to you all about what it takes to be an entrepreneur, clarity, etc. I had none of that. Fortius Marketing came in terms of opportunity to me. While I was working, somebody gave my introduction. They told you that after college, what I did was I worked for another company for 1 year, which is a chemical factory. After that, I joined my dad's business. And as soon as I joined my dad's business, I started getting a lot of inquiries for, excuse me 1 second. Can you put it here? Can you put it here? I started getting a lot of inquiries from clients abroad and in India who were looking for representation in India. Nobody really wanted to sell their own products. I realized that it was a common thing. I was getting more than 30 to 40 inquiries per quarter, per 3 months, that would you like to represent us in the chemical line in India? That's when I realized it's an excellent business opportunity to actually offer marketing consultancy and sales consultancy to people who actually need it. Not many people want to do the dirty work, which is actually do the sales bit. Everyone wanted to make money, but nobody wanted to do the dirty work. That's what inspired me to actually open Fortius Marketing LLP. My second company, of course, as you all have heard, came from my passion for football. I play and coach football, so I was offering free advice. I thought I might as well charge for it. So that's when I opened my second company in May this year. First of all, yes, congratulations that all of you all are here. You all have made it to a pretty important stage of your life. It's a great achievement just being here. I'm sure all of you all have graduated in our respective fields and made it here. So yes, a good achievement. And ready for the next step, to embark on a new journey at IIBM. You all have a very good staff and a good setup here in terms of infrastructure, and a very nice person leading the whole pack. So hopefully you'll be ready on a very good journey. All right, starting up. I'm here to talk to you about mostly entrepreneurship, but before I get into it, I'd like to know what a few of you all have graduated in. Can anyone tell me what have you all graduated in? Yes, no, you can just answer. I don't need the mic. Please, no mics. Yes. You don't need to stand up, just like say it out loud.
Sir, my name is Umang. I am from Prakash District. I graduated in BBA from Sikkim Manipal University.
Okay, BBA. Anyone else? Somebody who's done something else? Yes.
My name is Subhatik Sanghi. I am from Calcutta.
Yes.
I have done graduation in BCom from ITM University.
BCom. Okay. Anything else? Yes.
So my name is Supriya Singh. I am from Durg, Chhattisgarh. I have done my engineering in electronics and telecommunications.
Okay, engineering. So, good. Any other fields that, yeah, don't stand up, please just shout it out.
So my name is Antika Sood. I am from West Bengal, Kolkata. And I have done graduation in political science honors.
Political science. Okay, great, great. So, all different fields. Moving on to the next question, to the answer. So far, your education has mostly been a test of your memory. Engineering, BBA, BCom, whatever you all have learned has pretty much been learning. I mean, it hasn't been a lot of application. Primarily, what you have to do is read up on what you learn and what you see in your textbooks, and you're expected to write it down on an exam paper eventually. You do have practicals, but it's a tiny percentage of your marks. That part is now over. Like, this memory game is now over, where you learn stuff and then you just write it down. You have to start applying yourself at this point in your life, and that is how it changes. That's why your dream begins now, is the next part of your career starts now. You need to start applying yourself. Being a manager involves a lot of analytical and applicative thinking, which means pretty much everything you learn from your textbooks, what your professors tell you here, learn how to apply it in a situation rather than trying to learn it. Instead of trying to by heart what they are saying, try to understand what they are saying and apply it to a real life situation. More on that in the next few slides. Like it's written down here, learning how to apply a concept and do analysis on different subjects. I know you all have different subjects. Don't just try to learn them. The most important part is learn how to apply them. If you have any questions, you should be asking your professors and teachers, how do I apply this in a real life scenario? Okay, so here are my topics for today, which are entrepreneurship, innovation, and the qualities of a great manager. Like my previous speaker said, there's a huge difference between being an entrepreneur and actually being a good manager. Two totally different things, owning a business and managing a business. Getting into it, how many of you want to start your own company, and can you tell me why? I know this was asked by Atul, but does anyone want to repeat that? Does anyone want to start their own company? Can you all stop writing things down while I'm talking, please? And yes, please. Did someone raise their hand? Yes. Yes. Why?
I just want to be an entrepreneur because I don't want to be an employee. I don't want to work under any person.
Okay.
And my family background is also from business.
Okay. So different reasons. I'll start writing them. Don't want to work. Under someone else. Okay. Anyone else?
Establish my own.
Okay. Yes.
Being creative and being innovative in our own way and bringing out a new idea and
Okay.
working on it.
Okay.
Not working on a preset idea, but bringing out your own idea and being openly working on it.
Do you have a word for that? Okay. Coming up with your own idea. Any other answers? Yeah, please. And can you give me a duster also? Sure. Thanks. Anyone else? Just two people want to start their own company? Yes.
Sir, I want to open my own business just because I can employ other and help them to settle their career.
Okay. Help others. Okay. All very good answers. And everyone has their own reasons. Can anyone tell me a few qualities of an entrepreneur? What kind of qualities does an entrepreneur need to have? Yes?
Who bears the risk?
Pardon?
An entrepreneur is the one who bears the risk.
Okay, takes risks. Okay, very good. You can sit. Anyone else? Yes.
Manages the factors of production.
Pardon?
Manages the factors of production.
Manages the factors of production. What?
Material, whatever is connected with the organization.
So a good manager. Good manager and risk taker. Okay, what else? Yes. Okay. Optimizes resources. Okay. You can sit. All very good answers. But before you do get to all these steps, you need to understand the basics of being a manager, an entrepreneur. And they are known as the fundamentals of entrepreneurship. They're just 4. And the reason I've highlighted fun is because it's the most important thing. The most important thing is that you are having fun. When you start a company, it is very important you start it because it's something you like doing. Don't get into it if you know that 2 years later you're going to get bored of it. To constantly keep coming up with ideas, you need to enjoy what you do. Maybe you want to open a restaurant. Maybe it's not that innovative. Maybe that's all you want to do. But if that is what you think is going to keep you going for the next 20 years, then that's what you need to go with, because that is the most important thing. Like, your life needs to be fun. Atul was talking about the work-life balance. It's one of the only ways you can achieve that work-life balance is enjoying what you do. A lot of us here don't enjoy what we do and realize it maybe 5 or 10 years later. And a lot of people switch careers, like when they're 35 or when they're 40. A lot of people switch careers because they find that what I've been doing all these years has not been fun at all. So make sure that when you start a company, it's fun for you, and cater to that need first. The second one, entrepreneurship is not about making a quick buck while fooling the other person into buying something he doesn't need. Okay, like I'll give you the example of the jeans company. Okay, there are already enough people making jeans. You don't need to come out with a product, but you come out with a cheap replacement for jeans. Okay, the need of wearing something is already being satisfied by 10 other companies in the same market. Okay, by coming out with a cheaper product, you're not being innovative, you're just trying to make a quick buck. Okay, because the sustainability of that product in the market is barely anything. It's only a matter of time before somebody replaces your product with a better one. Okay, so right now what you are trying to do is making a quick buck while fooling the other person that, okay, you need this for now, this is new, and you will think, okay, I'll make my few crores in the next 5 years and then I'm out of this. That is not what entrepreneurship is. And when you're in entrepreneurship, you're in for the long run. You need to have a larger plan focusing on quality and focus on your product. Your product or your service that you are offering is your number one thing when it comes to entrepreneurship. because besides having fun, there's a lot of emphasis on the product. That is what is going to give you credit. Third point, constantly focus on innovation and diversification. It helps stay ahead of the competition. Innovation, you know you will eventually get overtaken in the scheme of things. You come out with a product, you're always worried about the competition. You're always thinking, okay, what if the next person comes out with something that is better than my product? That is the reason everyone here needs to keep innovating. That's the most important thing, is to keep innovating, keep changing things around. It can be anything. You can come out with, say, a pen, okay? This basic pen, which solves the purpose of just writing. Tomorrow, you can come out with a version of this pen which also works as a laser pointer. So it's multi-purpose, it's innovation, it's adding something new to your current line, and that is what helps you stay ahead of the competition. Because by the time the competition comes out with a better pen, you already have a pen which is doing two things. So that is what I mean by keep changing things, keep diversifying, and that is how it helps you stay ahead of the competition. And the fourth and most important point is respect. Respect for everyone around you. From the peon to the management, you have to realize that each person forms the organization. Without the peon, you are not going to get your daily dose of tea, you're not going to have clean floors, you're not going to have everything. So it's very important to respect everyone around you, respect their role in the organization, and equally respect people above you. Don't think you know it all, because you don't. It's purely by experience you will realize that I have a lot of things to do in my life, and eventually you will constantly interact with people from the peon level to the management level. Please don't be rude to them. Please be very respectful of them, because they are all a part of an essential organization. Take ideas from juniors. That's another very important point. They always have a fresh perspective on things. You might think that this is what I've studied, and this is what I apply, and okay, these juniors that are coming in, maybe the next year you will think, okay, the new batch of MBAs that is coming in, what do they know? I have 1 year more experience from them, but they have a newer perspective on things. Their teachers are changing, their textbooks are changing constantly, and you may not be up to date with that. So definitely keep talking to your juniors and definitely take ideas from them. Don't discount them at all. Any questions on the fundamentals of entrepreneurship? Just these 4 points that I've spoken on. Anything that is not clear or anyone would like to ask? Nothing? Okay. Moving on. So, okay, I'll come back actually. So don't want to work under someone else. That is one of the points that somebody gave me for starting their own company. None of these points are actually covered in the fundamentals of entrepreneurship. I'm just going to go back. You're not having fun. You don't have a product. You're not innovating. And it has nothing to do with respect or employees. It's pretty much not wanting to work under someone else. Don't get stuck up on this because you're constantly learning. And what I covered in the respect point was exactly that you are constantly learning. You might be the boss, but you're still working under other people. Everyone around you is equal to you. Don't treat them differently. Don't think that by being the boss, you're working under someone. Or that by being lower level, you're working under someone. You're always working with someone. You're all part of a setup together. The company is not going to function just with you or without you. Your company is not going to function without the peon either. You do need someone to come and do this work for you on a daily basis. That is why it's very important not to have hang-ups like these. You're working with everyone. Coming up with your own idea. Of course, very important, covered in the innovation bit. Also important to consider, your own idea can be your own in terms of an idea, but it needs to still be different in terms of what is out there. Your idea could be, I want to start a restaurant. A million other people have that idea. What are you doing that is different? What are you doing that is actually different from the competition? And quality and confidence in your product is what will change that. Diversification is what will change that. Somebody said they want to help others form a career pathway. You cannot help others until you help yourself. So figure out your own fundamentals first, and once you have your own fundamentals in order, then you can move on to the next step of actually helping others, because others are going to look up to you, and if you're offering them something that's not worth it, you're going to ruin their career. Qualities. A good manager. Like you said, qualities of an entrepreneur is a good manager. Being an entrepreneur is totally different from being a good manager. Being a good manager involves handling people and operations around you. Being a good entrepreneur is actually coming up with these ideas. Okay, that is the difference between actually being a manager and an entrepreneur. As a manager, you're not under that much pressure to actually come out with an idea. It's usually the owner who comes out with the idea and relies on the manager to actually execute it. So that is the difference between actually being a manager and an entrepreneur. You don't necessarily have to be a good manager to be an entrepreneur. So this point is kind of invalid. You can still be a good entrepreneur without being a good manager. If you have both qualities, excellent. Good luck to you for that. A risk taker, excellent point. This is very important, is being a risk taker is one of the key things of being an entrepreneur. You will never move ahead unless you're willing to take risks. If you go by what society has to say, you're never going to make it as an entrepreneur. So very, very important to take risks and optimize your resources. Yes, of course, optimization of resources is important, but it comes at a much later stage of life of entrepreneurship, once you know what resources you have and what you need to work with. So anyone have any questions still about the same topic? If you all are not understanding me at any point, you all can raise your hands and ask me a question at any point. Is it clear so far? All right. Moving on. I'm going to move on to the importance of innovation. I'm going to focus on innovation here. The definition of innovation is actually something original, something effective, and as a consequence new, that breaks into the market or society. Can anyone give me a few examples of what I mean by this? What is innovation? What do I mean when I'm saying innovate? Yes.
Like Steve Jobs created Apple company. First he launched the computers,
Yeah.
iMac, iPhone, then iPad,
Yes.
like this. This is innovation. And he also said that people don't know what they want until you show them. So this is innovation.
True, to some extent. He came out with something new, something that people hadn't seen before. People don't know they want it because they don't know the possibilities. You are the entrepreneur. You need to show them the possibilities of, okay, I am going to create a product and I will make sure that you need it. Don't confuse this with making a quick buck out of selling something to people that they don't need. Don't try to sell people a pen that you can use for some absolutely useless purpose also, like eraser, like with an eraser. They may not use a pen with an eraser. Don't try to sell them that, but come out with a product which people actually need. You can sit. Come out with a product which actually people need. Create a need around it. Don't create an artificial market around it. Yes, somebody else was going to tell me what I mean when the meaning of innovation. Yes, please.
To construct reconstructed things with new qualities.
Yes, give me an example.
Like initially, mobiles didn't have cameras, but now it has well-featured cameras and.
Exactly. So, integrating multiple features into one device. There were two devices earlier. One was a mobile phone, a telephone, and a camera. What someone has gone and done is they've innovated and they've combined both devices into one. So you don't need either the telephone or the camera. You now have a cell phone which has the telephone and the camera. Very good. Okay, one more. Yes.
Sir, I would like to give example of Burger King and McDonald's.
Yes.
Like Burger King, they say that taste is king.
Yes.
And they already had an established food chain. But later McDonald's came into existence. They said that we serve an average tasting burger, fastest in the world. And so that is innovation. That they serve an average tasting burger, but they serve it fastest in the world. So it is innovation.
I would disagree with you on that point. Actually, they have, you can sit. They have not actually come out with a new product. What they are essentially doing is trying to stay ahead of the competition. They are trying to innovate, but they are not really innovating in that space. Innovating in that space would be coming out with something that's actually healthy. Okay. If Burger King came out with something, a healthier option of a burger for a burger, that would be the competition. They are coming out with a different marketing strategy to sell their burger. So a difference in, don't confuse a difference in marketing strategy with actually innovating. You can come up with anything that can be different, but it's not necessarily good or necessary for the people. You may not need it. Like innovating is when you actually need it. Nobody needs a burger, okay? You are already satisfying your primary need of food from other sources. Nobody needs a McDonald's burger or a Burger King burger. And yes.
In USA, why not drive the fast food service? So like in India, we have it in malls, and I have gone and studied on that in USA they have canopies of McDonald's. Like on the drive they take it, they purchase it fast because the routes are very long that they have.
Exactly, but you will evolve based on what is available for you. It's not a need, it's a want, okay? You can pack your own sandwich from home and take it for your long drive, okay? You're just easing it for customers. It's not called innovation, okay? Innovating is actually coming out with a new product like a computer, which is actually helpful for people in the long run. A burger is not helpful for anyone in the long run, okay? It's something that is adding calories, it's unhealthy. It's just kind of providing you with an alternate option. That would come under making a quick buck into selling something to people that they don't need. Yes, thank you. So it's actually a great example of the difference between innovation and making money, okay? Don't confuse your innovation with making money because they are two totally different things. Innovating is coming out with a product that people need. I'll elaborate a little more on it. Points to remember actually when you're innovating, since I am getting actually good responses from y'all, is make sure that you are practicing what you do. Like Mr. Atul said in the previous chat, if you practice something 10,000 times, you will get good at it, okay? It's not necessarily perfect. You've all heard that practice makes perfect. You might learn how to hit the ball a certain way, okay? 10,000 times. You will be really good at it, but the coach will still tell you that it's not perfect. It's not the right way to do things. Don't be scared of that. If it's getting you your result, go with it. Okay, use techniques that help you make the habit permanent. Don't go for perfection, go for the end result. Keep doing the same thing. If you are learning to play the guitar, you may not be picking the string the right way, okay? But if it's creating the same sound and you have practiced it 10,000 times the same way, your brain has already imprinted that in your own memory that, okay, this is how I play a guitar. Do not try to change that once you have made it a permanent habit, okay? Same thing applies to business. Don't change your basics once you have already kind of made that practice permanent. Although change is good in the next point. What I'm trying to say is, if you have a particular way of working, a particular way of thinking, it may not be the perfect way. Do not try to change it in the long run, because once it's already permanent. Change is good in terms of the greatest entrepreneurs are always changing. Like you said, Steve Jobs came out with the personal computer, then he came out with the iPad, the iPhone, etc., etc., etc. So what a new person, a good entrepreneur is doing is constantly changing things around him. Not changing his own style of work, but changing the things around him. He's changing his staff, he is changing his work environment. For example, very recently, I went to a box factory, okay? People had a certain way of folding the boxes and making them. When I went over there, I told one worker that you are actually wasting 5 minutes every box in just making this box because you're doing it the wrong way. I tried to teach him the right way of making the box, and he took about 15 minutes extra to make the same box. And what I learned from that is, it makes no sense in me trying to change his process of making the box, okay? What I did do though is I changed the work environment around him. I know that this is how he makes the box, okay? I gave him a new tool to make his box making skill faster, okay? So did you understand what I meant by practice makes permanent and change is good? What change exactly am I talking about? Changes in the right places, changes around you, but not changes to something that has already been made permanent, okay? Can anyone give me an example, or does anyone have any questions on this to make it clearer? Anybody? So you all have all understood practice makes permanent and yes.
As you were stating about the examples of innovation,
Yes.
so can the example of mall can be given as the example of innovation, because in malls different shops are collected under one roof and function under one roof.
See, when somebody actually decided to make something called a mall, it was innovation. But today, if somebody makes a different type of mall, it's not innovation. A very good example is a commercial space, and any office building. I'm sure somebody in real estate thought that maybe I should be making this commercial space into a retail space. Yeah, that is innovation. Innovation is actually making a website like Flipkart to get rid of the mall concept. That is innovation. Coming out with something new, not coming out with a new mall which sells more things, because then you are only going to face competition, okay? You have already ventured into a field that there is someone, there are players in it, okay? You are just going to try to do things differently and stay ahead of the competition. Ideally, that is not the kind of scenario you want to get into when you're starting a company. When you're starting a company, you want the idea to be completely fresh, and that is why it's very important to take risks, to think differently. Learning how to think differently is something that you will only gain with experience and by meeting people. People like juniors, people like management, from peons, etc. Everyone will give you their own experiences. So you taking in all those experiences and actually figuring out what people need is what will help you innovate. Moving on. Examples of great entrepreneurs. Can anyone tell me if they have any idols, people they idolize, any role models that you look up to? Anyone? Yes. Steve Jobs. Okay. Anyone else? Yes.
Actually, I have my elder cousin. He has done architecture from Delhi. Then he has done that MIT from Columbia. Now he is a founder of a website called Timescape. So he's an ideal person for me because he had faced a lot of hardships in his life.
Okay.
Being an honest man, and now he's in a position like Timescape is basically a website where people from around the world doing research in different fields can come up together and share their researches.
Okay.
So he's an ideal person for me because he has also won a humanitarian award for architecture, like for making a wheelchair. So he's an ideal person.
Okay. Okay, great. Is there any particular reason you idolize him? Do you want to become a humanitarian? Do you want to start a company like his, or what?
So actually, I haven't thought about entrepreneurship, starting new companies, but I want to learn from him the way he used to do hard work, like leaving everyone behind, like his parents, his family. He is now outside, like in New York, Boston. Some years before, he was researching about time machine.
Okay.
I mean, coming up with different scientists. He was researching. So the knowledge he is now, like he has got now. That's what I want. You know, I haven't thought about starting myself. I want to be.
Okay. Basically, when you idolize someone, you can sit. Basically, when you idolize someone, you are trying to follow that person in everything he does, okay, in life, to try to become that kind of a person, okay. It is very important for you to choose the right idol, okay. Don't say my idol is Sachin Tendulkar and try to start a restaurant business. It is totally unrelated. If you are actually looking at becoming a cricketer, your idol can be Sachin Tendulkar. Try to idolize the right person. If you're in the tech space, try to idolize someone like Jobs. If you're trying to get into the startup space, try to get someone like Elon Musk. Examples of great entrepreneurs. People who kind of cover the points that I have covered so far, of constantly changing, innovation, coming up with their own ideas, trying to stay ahead of the competition. Steve Jobs, like you said, has actually, I don't know how many of you all know, but other than Apple, once he left Apple, Pixar, has anyone heard of Pixar? Yeah. Pixar makes animation movies. Pixar was owned by Steve Jobs, and he eventually sold it to Disney for a huge amount of money before he moved back to Apple. What Steve Jobs did is he did not worry about losing his job with Apple. He just went out, started a new company, a new need for something new, and made it. Took a risk, needed a lot of courage to do it, but went out, didn't stay down, changed it up, came up with this, a new company. So what Steve Jobs has ventured into are so many different unrelated things when you look at them as separate devices. Personal computers and animated movies, music, phones, tablet computing, and digital publishing were all different bases of media about before Steve Jobs came in. He is the one person that makes you relate all this to one name. to one device. You can all say this is all digital, but 10 years ago, if I asked you whether animated movies and personal computers were related, you would say no. Right now, you would only say that this is where I watch my animated movies. I listen to my music on my computer, but 10 years ago, everyone had their own separate Walkman or tape, etc. So what he has done, he's tried to integrate multiple products into one device, and that is a great example of innovation of a great entrepreneur. Has anyone heard of Elon Musk? The second person on this list. Okay, Elon Musk is another really famous person. You all should look him up once you all go. He is my idol. Okay, he started off with a company called Zip2. PayPal, has anyone heard of PayPal? You've come across PayPal. When you all are trying to make online payments, you'll get an option of PayPal. Elon Musk came out with this concept of PayPal, of actually being able to pay for something online. This is totally Elon Musk's creation. Okay. After he got done with PayPal, he moved on to a company called Tesla Motors. I don't know if actually he didn't move on to Tesla Motors next. He moved on to SpaceX next. Has anyone heard of any of these companies, Tesla Motors or SpaceX? Which one? Okay, so what does SpaceX do? Does anyone know what SpaceX does? Okay, SpaceX launches satellites for governments into space. So SpaceX actually owns the rocket that launches the satellite into space. Okay. What the government realized, Elon Musk realized is that governments are spending loads and loads of money in developing satellites. They don't have any more money to launch these satellites into space. When rockets, etc., are actually made, the failure rate is so high that governments don't want to take the risk of putting these actual satellites into space. Totally unrelated from PayPal. There is absolutely no connection between space exploration and paying online. Okay, so now you will get a rough idea of how you can actually think in two totally different directions but still be innovative at the same time. It's very important to keep thinking. Like, if you have an idea, don't think that, okay, what is this related to? Is this connected to anything I'm doing right now? A lot of you will have doubts about yourself. Great example of Elon Musk doing three things in three totally different sectors. You all have all heard of Tesla Motors. He's come out with a brilliant car which runs on clean energy. No fuel, only clean electricity. He's now come out with a device that harnesses solar energy absolutely efficiently. You can store it and use it in Tesla cars. All three lines are totally different, but still three very, very successful companies and a great example of a great entrepreneur. One sec. Yeah. What do you do when you innovate? Few tips again. I've already spoken to you all about innovation, what innovation means, how practice makes permanent and not perfect, and how change is good. Okay, but a lot of you will be wondering, what exactly does innovation mean? Like, what exactly do I have to do? Give me a task list. What do I have to keep in mind when I'm innovating? Like, okay, I have an idea. What do I do next? This is what you do next. You start focusing on your own skills. Okay, look at your own strong points. It is the most important thing about starting a company, is play to your strengths. Okay, don't focus on things around you. Like, for example, how much money does my dad have, and like, will it be possible? Will my parents agree? And where is it located? Logistics. Don't think about things like that when you're innovating. When you're actually coming out with a new product, focus on what is my strong point. Okay, if I can sell anything to anyone. That is my strong point, and I will focus on sales. If my own skill is actually being able to cook food really well, I will become a chef. If I am a really good football player, I will try to become a coach. Try to focus on your own skills. It'll really help kind of deliver a pathway and what direction you need to head into. Provide an answer or a solution for someone. When you are talking to people, when you are continuously talking to people, you will learn about what people need. Keep asking people about what they need. Basic needs. Ask the peon, what doesn't he have? What would he like to lead a better life? Anyone, any company. You could, for example, Miss Inspiration from her brother. You could ask your brother what he needs in his company. Please sit. You could ask your brother what he needs in his company, and you could provide him with a solution. You are innovating at the same time. You will come out with your own answer. You are focusing on your own skills, you will come out with an answer if he needs something. So always try to solve a problem. Don't come out with something yourself. Focus on solving a problem and providing an answer. You need a lot of courage to go against society. Your parents might say no, your friends might say no, you may have to make some hard decisions about moving city, etc. Muster up some courage. Be ready to live life the hard way. If you're not ready for that, entrepreneurship is definitely not for you. You need to be willing to take risks. Forget what you are used to right now in terms of being in your own comfort zone. Try to take risks, try to muster up courage, and that is what will get you ready for your journey into entrepreneurship. Try new things even if stats say they will, that you will fail. 90% of the time, stats will say you will fail, because if there was somebody already doing it and they are successful, it's not something you want to get into. You're not innovating anymore. So usually if you're getting into a business, people will always tell you that this is the wrong thing to do. Like, iska demand nahi hai. This is useless. What will I do with this? So they might tell you that this will fail, but if you are confident about your own product, if you are confident about your own skills, go ahead with it and it will happen. This is all things that I have learned in my own business. All these points, everything that I have put up today is purely from my own experience. This is not things that I have actually written down from or got from online or from a textbook. It's purely this. My own skill was actually being able to sell anything to anyone. I knew that I could sell anything to anyone. When my first client was an Italian company approached me saying, we want to sell liquid rubber in India. I asked them, what is it used for? They said it's used for making jewelry. And when I looked into the market, I saw that there are already people using liquid rubber. And they asked me, how are you going to sell it? It's 30% more costly. It's basically the same product. How are you going to sell it? The reason I decided to take up on this challenge is because I was focusing on my own skill, which is being able to sell anything to anybody. And I did take that up, and I provided an answer or a solution to someone. Okay, what I did was I told the Italian company, okay, this is what the market has, and this is what I want you to develop. There was a rubber which used to dry in 7 hours. I told them to come up with a rubber which dries in 15 minutes. They did not, but they came up with one which dries in 1 hour. And today I have offered a new solution to a jewelry manufacturing company. Okay, courage to actually take up the project, knowing that competition is already there. Very important in taking the next step, very important in decision making is courage. You have to take a risk because you are investing money usually into a project like this. Is you need to order some amount, so you are taking a risk. Don't be scared to take this risk. Don't worry about the money going. Don't worry about your parents saying no. Don't worry about moving. You will figure it out. People are living in way worse conditions than you can imagine. So all these apply to very real life scenarios, and these are not hypothetical scenarios created or downloaded from the internet. Last and most important is seek advice. Everyone needs help. Everyone needs help. You can keep talking to people continuously, but always go with your gut. Okay? Never blame someone else for your own decision. Whenever you are taking a decision, you are asking everyone. You're asking your colleagues, your teachers, your friends, your parents. You're looking on the internet. Everyone will give you their advice. Everyone will give you their advice. But the decision is yours. You are the only one who should be responsible for your own decision. When you take your own decision, that is when you move ahead with confidence. Tomorrow you may fail in your decision. Maybe your parents will tell you, "Nahi beta, do this." You follow their route, and if you fail, you will blame your parents for the rest of your life. And you write that down. I guarantee you this, and this will sour your relationship with your parents. That is why it is extremely important that you are the only one responsible for your own decisions in business. Is this working? Okay. So, everyone reads the newspaper? Oh no, it looks like no. But a very famous entrepreneur actually asked this question to the media barely 3 or 4 days ago. Can anyone tell me one important invention out of India post-independence? Does anyone know who asked this question actually? No, it was Narayan Murthy from Infosys, ex-Infosys, who asked this question to the media. Can anyone from the media tell me one important invention out of India after independence? Does anyone have an answer? Yes. Facebook. It's not from India. Anyone else? Okay, exactly. There are none because there's no innovation. Our country needs innovation. Based on the definition I gave you all of innovation, something new, a new product, okay, a new concept altogether, something that is created based on need. Everybody knows our country is poor. People don't have food, people don't have water, people don't have housing, we have electricity problems. Still, nobody is working on these issues. There are a lot of people, but the fact that nobody in this room came up with those means nobody over here has even thought of those as needs or areas to venture into. I heard that one of your speakers yesterday or day before yesterday was someone who's into waste management or who's made some toilets. Is that right? Yeah. What did he do? He addressed basic needs of people, which is to have a toilet. Okay? Go back to the basics. Try to find out from people. Try to look around you. Like, open your eyes up. Look what is around you. Look what people need. And base your company or your innovation around that. Because that's definitely something our country needs. And then you will be able to answer the question on top if there are any new inventions. You all heard the person speak yesterday or day before. Still nobody told me that there is somebody who's come out with portable toilets. And this happened yesterday, right? When did he speak to you? Yeah. That is one important invention. He's come out with portable toilets, one of a kind. He's addressing the basic need of people. I think he's an innovator, and I think he's an excellent entrepreneur. That is one great example. So try to focus on these kind of things. Don't go for glamour. Facebook, McDonald's, restaurants, it's all great and fun, but you're not really solving any problems when you come to those. You may be making life easier for people, but you will actually be in demand only when you address the basic needs of people. Study the socio-economic impact of the product. How does your product impact people and the financial scenario? Okay. Does your product make any difference to society? Does your product help generate revenue for the country? If not, don't think about it. Try to look for products. I'm talking about the long run, okay? I'm not talking about the next 2 or 3 years. All of you all can think of companies that will work for the next 2 or 3 years. I am talking about something that you can make a legacy out of. People will talk of you as the next Steve Jobs. That is what these people do, is think of something and reverse engineer. Look at the need of a people and create a product around it. Focus on your skills. Okay, this is what I can do for them. Forget 10% salary hike a year and a job title. When I started off with 25,000 rupees. And I started off with 25,000 rupees after working for my father's company. And my father refused to give me any money because he wanted me to continue his own business. Okay? So what I was living off was 5,000 rupees per month for the first 1.5 years that I started my company. All of you all know what even a driver does not earn 5,000 rupees a month. Okay? So you struggle, you live with friends, you make it work. But if you are focused on actually making something out of it, you will. Today my company is evaluated at more than 5 crores, just my first company. And it's been 6 years. So from 5,000 rupees a month to 5 crores is not, it's not easy, but is definitely possible by keeping a few of these points in mind. Also, keep thinking. When you're an entrepreneur, qualities of a good entrepreneur are usually that they keep thinking. Even when you're on holiday, you might think I'm going out like on Saturday night and today is my day off, but still keep thinking. Keep your mind open. You might see someone that needs something there. You might talk to someone that might need something there. You might learn of a need there. Absolutely anywhere. You might go for a morning walk. You might go to the gym. Keep thinking, what might people need in this gym to improve their facilities? What might this college need to improve their facilities? The responsibility never ends as an entrepreneur, okay? Keep your mind working, keep your mind active. That is what will help you at the next stage in life. Questions? Anyone? Anyone didn't understand any of these topics? Does anyone have any ideas for any products? Just offhand. Can you tell me what I mean by an innovative product? Can you tell me any one product that comes up to your mind that people might need in the future? Yes.
So in our graduation, one of our professors had the same question, and since then, this is again the same product I'm telling you. It's a use and throw toothbrush. If possible, we can definitely. It can be this is a very nice idea that I had in my mind. So this is a product that needs to be there. It's not there.
Okay. But why? Why do you think we need a use and throw one?
So a use and throw as in toothbrush, or like we have many other products that are use and throw, right? We have soaps. Nowadays we have those Kara wet tissues. We do have them. So for journeys, many people go on campaign, and for such situation, sometimes we really do need the use and throw toothbrush, because water and such facilities are not everywhere available.
Okay. So you mean a dry use toothbrush?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. That would be coming out from a basic need for people needing a toothbrush. the idea is still based on something that is there in history, which is Datun. A lot of you all have heard of Datun, which is technically a use and throw toothbrush. You miss it. So although the idea is already there, okay, somebody coming out with it, somebody commercially packaging Datun and selling it is a great idea for innovation. Okay, what you are doing is you are addressing the basic need of people. Okay, you are developing a new product based on need. Our country needs it. Okay, socio-economic impact, absolutely amazing social impact, great economic impact also, very easy to procure, neem trees everywhere, social impact, everyone can use them, you don't need water, you don't need a toothbrush. Okay, question is, why did people stop using them in the first place? Okay, so that is the next part of this, where you move on to the next step of entrepreneurship. From innovation, you move on to other things like the importance of money, dreams, and other things. So I will explain further into why people have stopped using it, why people stop using products. Okay, so how many of you all have a dream? A goal, basically. Yes. May I know what it is?
An established music director.
Music director. Okay. May I know what you are planning to do to actually become a music director?
I've kept learning music for last maybe 15 years.
Okay.
And I plan to do it further as well.
Okay. Are you actively pursuing it right now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes. CEO of a bank. Okay. 1 second. So what are you doing to become the CEO of a bank? Okay, so you have already chalked out your entire pathway based on your dream, right? Anyone else? Yes.
Finance manager of fashion designing company.
Finance manager of fashion designing company.
Yes.
Why a fashion designing company?
Because my dream is मुझे बहुत ज़्यादा पसंद है फैशन डिजाइनिंग करना एंड उनके साथ काम करना. That's
तो आपको फाइनेंस क्यों करना है उनके साथ?
सर मुझे मैनेजमेंट भी पसंद. I like management.
So you need to decide whether you want to do manage.
Both I like, so that's why I decide management, do management course with and job with designing company.
Okay, so this is actually quite a common answer. You miss it of actually multitasking. Okay, multitasking is probably one of the worst things that the industry needs today. The industry does not need multitasking. You would rather focus on one thing, okay? Focus on your dream and try to work around that, okay? Whatever else happens, if she had said that I want to become a fashion designer, it's a different story because you actually have a pathway, or you want to be in finance. Finance in any company should work, but that's what a dream is. It can be absolutely anything. It doesn't necessarily have to make sense, and it's important that all of you all have a dream. I just saw 3 or 4 hands go up that people have a dream of becoming something. You all should not be here if you all do not have a dream. It is the most important thing you all need to be doing right now is having a dream, because you may not know this, but your mind spends 50% of its time idealizing scenarios that are never going to happen. Half the time of your day, 12 hours almost of the day, you spend daydreaming, okay? You are constantly thinking about what if, I wish if I was like this, I wish this had happened, I wish this was there. Your mind is constantly focusing on an ideal scenario, okay? And it's never going to happen. Like, but your mind still does it. It's just natural. That is how your mind works. Why don't you guys try to actually use this daydreaming time to set a goal? It's a very simple way to start on your entire journey of entrepreneurship or management. The first thing to do is set a goal. Few people know what they want, few people don't. Don't worry, because the goals can change, okay? Your goal today might be to be a fashion designer, tomorrow it might be to be a finance manager. Nobody is going to kill you for it. Your dream can change, but it's important that you have a dream. It's important that you have a set plan in action. It's important that you have a direction to go in, okay? You can always change direction eventually, but it's important that you have direction. So try to set goals out of these dreams. Most of the time, I think try to consciously look out for the time when you think your mind is daydreaming, okay? Most of you are daydreaming right now. You may not realize it, but most of you are daydreaming right now. And try to understand when your mind is actually daydreaming, okay? And try to use that time to actually set a goal. Your mind might be thinking, oh, what if I was on a beach in Goa right now, okay? Set your goal to be that. Try to open a restaurant on a beach in Goa, okay? And reverse engineer, what do I need to do to actually do that? So that is making use of your time, because you can't change the fact that your mind is actually spending 50% of its time wasting, dreaming about things that are never going to happen. But what you can do is set a goal out of it and actually do something about it. And the most important thing about setting a dream is your dream does not have to be public, okay? You might have your own dream, and all you need to do is prove to yourself that you can do this, okay? This is all you need out of this dream, is to prove to yourself. You don't need to prove to the rest of the world that, you know, I can become the world's greatest cook, or I can become the world's greatest manager. If it's your own private dream and you can prove to yourself, there's no other better sense of achievement that you can get. How many of you all think money is important? Okay, most of you all. How important is it? Is it the most important thing? Can anyone tell me anything that's more important than money? Yes? Job scenario. Work-wise.
Basic needs like food, clothes, and shelter.
Not personal needs, in a workspace.
Respect.
Okay. What else? Yes? Time. Okay.
Satisfaction.
Satisfaction. Good. What else? Values. Okay. So all good answers. Something that's more important than money. How much do you think your time is worth? Somebody said time. Did you say time? Okay. Can you stand up, please? The person next to you. How much do you think her time is worth to you as of today? Say she will tell you that this is what I can do for you. How much? No, please stay. How much is her time worth to you? It can be any number, 0 to infinity. As of now, what is her time worth to you?
Sir, nothing.
Nothing. Exactly. 0. How much do you think your time is worth? If you are spending time, say, doing something for him, yeah? If he tells you to go and get a cup of tea, Will you do it for free? You said time is more important than money. So exactly. So wouldn't you want something for that time? No? You're just willing to give it away if it's so important to you? No? So you have, exactly. It's not important to him, but it is important to you. So stop trying to put a value to time. Of course. So this is like a common mistake that you mess it. It's a very common mistake that people make, is trying to attach a monetary value to time. Okay, that okay, I am worth making 5,000 rupees an hour. Your time is absolutely precious to you, but it might be absolutely useless to the other person. Okay, so it's all a matter of perspective. No matter when you go for a job or whatever, you will always find that okay, my worth is 80,000 rupees a month, but the interviewer is only willing to offer me 50,000 rupees a month. What do? I suggest you take it up if you think you're giving yourself enough value, okay? Because your time can only be judged by yourself. Don't try to evaluate it with money. It is actually priceless. I spend my time innovating, so I think it is more important, it gives me more value than any other job can give me. I think any job would today offer me say 1.5 to 2 lakhs a month. I think it's useless because I spend my time creating ideas that can generate 5 crores a year. So why do I need to work on small ideas? Don't try to attach a monetary value to your time. Time is time and there's no value for it. For yourself, it is absolutely priceless. Don't try to make money out of changing other people's lives. Okay, so basically, if you are doing something for someone, don't expect money. Okay, money is absolutely worthless in those terms. Try to focus on the change. Okay? Even if you are getting nothing, try to see the value you are adding to the customer. That is what Atul also spoke about, is adding value to a business or adding value to a customer, adding value around you. You add value not by not monetary value, but more out of change. How are you affecting their process? What are you getting in that is new? That is adding value. So don't try to make money out of changing people's lives. Focus on the change. Once you focus on the change, everything else will follow. Also, success is definitely not determined by the amount of money you make. It is determined by the amount of change you make in people's lives. Okay? Would you say Gandhiji was a successful person? Yes? Yes. Okay. So, did he have any money? No. Exactly. So, there are lots of examples of people who may not have money. Bill Gates made all the money in the world and then donated it to charity. Okay? So, it has nothing to do with what the amount of money you made is. It's people will remember you for the change you made. All our politicians today have at least 100 crores and above. Okay? Nobody remembers them because they make zero change to our lives. If they were actually making a change in your life, you would remember them even if they had no money. So remember that success is not determined by the amount of money you make, but by the amount of change you make in people's lives. And of course, the importance of failure. How many of you all think it's important to fail? Because some in the previous conversation, I think one of you all said that I'm scared of failure. What if I fail? Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Afraid of failure.
Yeah.
Actually, sir had business and they got failure in that business.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, exactly. I will answer your question now. Failure is actually the most important part of business. You will not believe this stat, but 90% of all companies fail within their first 3 years. 90%. Okay, there are at least, like, there are millions of companies that are starting up. Say 1 million companies start up in 1 year. 900,000 companies are going to shut down within the first 3 years, and this is actually happening. This is actually what is happening in India and around the world. Is 90% of all companies shut down in the first 3 years after starting. So don't be scared to fail. It's try to be the 10%, and even if you fail, you start your next project. Okay, because see what Richard Branson has said. Every failure is a part of your success. How else would you learn? Okay, every failure adds a layer of mental strength. So I hope that answered your question, like in terms of what if I fail? You are going to fail. That is what he meant, that don't be scared of failure. It's a very important part of your learning process. There are loads of times that whatever you want is not going to happen. Try to focus on moving ahead. Things will happen. Don't dwell on them. People say that things cannot happen on only 2 days of the week, yesterday and tomorrow. So don't think about yesterday, don't think about tomorrow, think about today. Okay, try to focus on the next step. If you do fail, don't be scared. Like, definitely do not be scared of failure. Don't be scared of taking the next step. Just go with the flow and things will move. Any questions? Yes.
Hello. Sir, you said about importance of money.
Yeah.
The first part was, how much do you think your time is worth?
Yes.
So my question is, so what would you say to the people who always keep on saying, like, if they are the seniors or the CEO of a company, they keep on saying time is money. What would you say to this statement?
The reason they are telling you time is money is because your time is their money. Your time is not your own money. Okay? So if you are actually trying to do something for yourself, if you are actually trying to put a value to your own time, you cannot. Time is money only means one thing, is your time is my money. The more time you give me, the more money you make for me. Correct? But if you spend that same time innovating on your own thought, thinking about your own company, yeah, dreaming, you are of no value to me. That's why, although you are spending your time on improving the value of your own thinking, yeah, it might help you in your business after 2 years, that I am thinking about all this, but it's useless to him. So that is why he is trying to put a monetary value. Your CEO will definitely try to put a monetary value to your time, because he's like, what are you giving me? But he's not asking you, what are you giving yourself? What you are giving yourself is knowledge. You're giving yourself a goal, you're giving yourself a dream. Okay? So time is money is only relative to the person who is actually making the money. Yeah? So the CEO's time is money for him. Time is money for his employees. If his employees are all sitting and doing nothing, dreaming, it makes no money for him. But it improves the overall quality of his individual employees to actually go out and start their own businesses. So that's what I mean, that your time can be put to a monetary value by someone else, but it should not be put to a monetary value by yourself, because your own time is priceless to you. Okay? Today, your time to me may be absolutely useless. That does not mean you are useless. Yeah? That means that you can think of an idea that you can make yourself useful for yourself or somebody else. Maybe you are of no use to me, but that does not mean you are useless. Okay? So that is what I mean by time. Somebody might tell you that I am willing to pay you 500 rupees an hour to sweep the floor. And you will say, go to hell, I won't do it, because it's not worth your time, right? You might do it for the money, but it is definitely not worth your time to be sweeping a floor, because it is not adding any intellectual value to you. Correct? Does that answer your question, or do you want to ask?
So, but then later on, when we work for the company,
Yeah.
we are working for certain amount of money.
Exactly.
Right, sir?
Yeah.
But then if we are giving some overtime to the company,
Yeah.
we also get paid for that overtime. So
Yeah.
that is bringing a monetary value to me also, right, sir?
Exactly. So there are two totally different concepts. Like money you are giving, but you are giving your time away. Got it? Time is your own possession. Yeah. By somebody adding value, what are you getting paid for that extra time? Say 1,000 rupees an hour. Yeah. If you are getting paid 1,000 rupees an hour for the time, maybe you are only worth 1,000 rupees an hour for one person. Yeah. But a second company might give you 5,000 rupees an hour. Correct? Your key is finding the maximum value. Okay. And that value is infinity. That's why I said that you cannot put one value to your time. Like money is very relative. Like somebody will pay you overtime of maybe 100 rupees an hour. Would you do it? You are still getting paid for it, correct? But would you do it?
If I don't have any other offers from somewhere else, I don't have any choice, then I'll go for it.
Yeah, because you are chasing the money. Exactly. Exactly what I'm trying to tell you is use that time for something more worthwhile. Try to develop a passion. If you have a passion, if you have something that you are working on in terms of a company, if you have anything else that is adding value to yourself, you can even spend that time reading. Okay? You can spend that time relaxing. It is adding value to yourself. It is not adding value to another company, but your time is priceless for yourself. So as long as you are doing something with your own time and not just sitting, it's important to you. Your time is somebody else's money. Okay? So they will only give you how much they think it's worth. But in some scenarios you will be like, hey, nahi chahiye meko. Like I will not even work for 5,000 rupees today. Yeah, because I am tired. What do you do in that situation? Yeah, you have to if you're an employee, you have to take it. But you'll in your mind, you're saying that no, I will not do it for even 5,000 rupees. Yeah, that means that you don't want to attach a value to your time, like a monetary value, because you think it's more important for you to spend time with family today. Yeah, family is more than 5,000 rupees an hour today for me. So that in that sense, like my time is more valuable than money. That is the only thing I meant by not attaching a monetary value to time. Anything else?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
You answered.
Anyone else have any questions on dreams, money? Yeah. Yeah, sure. Take the Thank you. Anyone, any questions on failure, money, or any of these topics? Can we move on? Okay. Okay, now moving on to the more relevant part of this presentation, the last part also, is the qualities of a great manager. Okay. Most of you probably don't know the difference between a good manager and a great manager. Okay, there are a lot of good managers around who are good at their jobs, who do exactly what the owner tells them to do and follow the rules. But there is a different category of managers which are employed by top level companies, and those are great managers. what are the qualities of these great managers and how do they differentiate them from good managers? A great manager has continuous and overall personal development. Okay, this usually means starting at this time in your career, which is now. You all are 3 days into it, but from now on, it is continuous and overall personal development. I will elaborate more on this in the next few slides, but the second point being the ability to motivate themselves and those around them. Okay, the biggest challenge, take this down in writing, is that the biggest challenge you will face during your job or your work experience is motivating those around you. Your job as a manager is to motivate people around you and to make sure that people around you do their job, correct? For example, a manager manages people or manages operations. Okay, you don't come up with the people, you don't tell them what to do, or rather it's fixed what they do. Okay, operations are fixed. They are already pre-decided by companies that this needs to happen. As employees, people know that this needs to happen. So what exactly is a manager doing? Just making sure that things run, right? Does anyone else have any answers of what a manager actually does at work? No? Nothing? You are all trying to become managers. What do you think will be your job portfolio when you all actually join? What do you think you will be doing? Yes? Okay. What else? Yes?
Managing resources in an efficient way.
Yes, you said that before also, right? Yeah. Okay, correct. So, what do you mean by resources? What are resources?
Human source.
Exactly. People. Yeah. People. So, you're kind of managing is exactly that. You're managing people. You're managing a process around you, which is operations. Okay. So, basically, when you are actually managing people and people are getting paid to come into work every day, eventually they get bored of it. Okay, they have no reason to be working any harder. So you being their manager, the biggest challenge you will face is motivating them to work harder, like telling them, yes, you can do it, come on, every day you need to come in and do a better job than you did yesterday. How are you as a manager going to be able to do that? Because that is what will make you a great manager, and that is what will help you get a job. Because most people in interviews, this is what they check: how you can motivate people around you. What do you think a group discussion is? Like when people are having, has anyone here been for interviews? Yes? So you all might have noticed that there's a written interview, there's usually a personal interview, and there's also a group discussion involved. The group discussion part, the only thing people are trying to do is see how you motivate people around you. Okay, so that is one of the most important things in becoming a manager. I want all of you all to actually look at this problem. It's pretty difficult. I would say you take your time, say take a minute and think before you answer. I don't want anyone to give me like wrong answers. So like, yeah, I'll like probably give you all a negative grade. Like I'll ask sir to give you a negative grade. Like, but think and tell me. Like it's a long question. You have a minute. Wait. Okay. Great. So how many of you all have an answer? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, at least about 10 to 15 people. Okay, can you tell me the answer?
Sir, I gave the key to my old friend. I gave the key of car to my old friend for helping the old lady, and I will wait with the woman.
Okay, great. So very easy answer. Yeah, I think most of you all who had raised their hands figured that out. Yes? Okay. Moving on to the next one. This one is actually, the next one is really easy. You all can do it really fast. You all can just answer, raise your hands as soon as somebody gets it. And the first one to answer also gets a prize. Come on, it's really easy. Anyone? Yes?
Sir, I would tie that person with the animal. We'll hang that person with the animal and we'll run towards the village with those animal and with the person with the broken leg.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes?
I will ask the dam keeper to close the gates of the dam so that
No, the dam is going to burst. There's no gates. Anyone else? Yes? But his leg is broken. Okay, you may sit. So, where is the receiver for this? Yes. Okay, so can anyone actually tell me the difference between both the problems? Yes.
It's very difficult and negative.
Yes.
So we tried our level best to solve it.
Exactly.
But in the second problem, it was written it's very easy and you can do it quickly and the winner get the prize. So we were a bit like it will happen very quickly. So we were a bit like loose about it. Oh no, it will happen quickly.
Exactly. Good answer. That is basically what I am trying to get to is motivation and demotivation. That was the difference between the two problems. Okay, in one I was trying to motivate you, and the other I was trying to demotivate you. Okay, both have their own effects in the workplace. Sometimes demotivation actually works as motivation, and motivation works as demotivation. Can anyone tell me what kind of properties would come under, what would you do to motivate someone? What would I write under motivation? What would you do to motivate someone? Yes. Yes, good. What else? Yes. Pardon? Recognize them. Okay. Yes. Rewards. Yes. What else?
So we'll encourage them.
Encouragement, yes, very good. Yes?
Compliment them if they have done something.
Yeah, encouragement. So, pretty much positive words help. Anyone have any other? Yes.
Sir, I think we can inspire them to see the future, what lies in future. If they do something, then what will they get if they are able to do this task? So we create a hunger of being successful by motivating people.
Not the end result. What would you do to motivate them? Like offer them a reward, give them a kind word. What else? Yes. Provide. Good. Yes. Yeah.
So sometimes negativity also works.
Yeah.
A fear of punishment might motivate them again.
Exactly. Okay. So I was looking at one more. Okay. These are a few of the things that you might use for motivation, and these are a few things that are actually demotivating. Okay. A lot of people consider motivating and demotivating. Like some of you already said, money, perks, promotion are all rewards. Positive reinforcement and encouragement is all, and kind words come under the same category. And increase the time, which is level the playing field. Very important part of motivation. If you think one employee is actually not being able to cope, how do you motivate him? If somebody thinks that, oh, I'm just not good enough, I'm compared to the rest of these people, how do you motivate them? Level the playing field, give him more time than the others. It might be unfair, but you are technically motivating the person who's the weakest to actually do better because he's getting a longer time, or give him an easier project. Okay. Like she said, sometimes demotivating techniques work as motivation. Usually punishment, ultimatums, anger, inequality in task, and discouragement work as strong demotivators, very, very strong demotivators in some scenarios. But the right kind of motivation is just as important. Okay. So sometimes anger works as motivation. You as managers need to figure out what to use in what scenario. Don't think that punishment is going to demotivate him. You don't actually have to punish him. Punishment is sometimes motivation for someone to do something better. Okay. So getting the right balance, understanding what techniques to use for motivation and demotivation is one of the biggest challenges and skills that you need to develop as a manager. Okay. This is pretty much the basics of management, is how to manage an employee, how to manage people around you. You all are doing things in HR and finance and whatever. In the end, you are working with people. Okay. Nobody is working alone. So it's all about managing people around you and motivating them around you. Make sure you don't end up demotivating them, because it's the opposite effect. But use these as tools to get your message across to the people around you. Okay. Moving on to the last bit of this is the 4-corner model for judging successful managers. Okay. So I have found this from experience and through people that I have met along the way in my career. Is there are 4 basic qualities that people look for in a manager when they are interviewing them, when they are hiring them. This applies to any person in general. It is your technical characteristics, social, psychological, and physical. Okay. So does everyone understand what I mean by these words? Can anyone tell me what I mean by these words? No? Yes?
Technical characteristics means that a person should be technically sound. He should know what to do at work.
Yeah.
Social characteristics means that he should be a friendly guy and he shouldn't be arrogant in his work and with a lot of attitude.
Okay.
And psychological characteristics means that his mental state is stable and is not thinking of anything else other than the work he's supposed to do.
Okay.
And physical characteristics means he should be fit and healthy.
Okay. Where do you think that one of these would impact you at work? What if my psychological characteristics were off? What would it affect?
Maybe the relations with other employees, social characteristics it might affect.
Social or psychological? Which one are you talking about?
If my psychological state is not good,
Yeah.
it might affect my social characteristics.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes? Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, moving on. Here is a categorization of these actual characteristics that I've listed down. Okay. Under technical is your knowledge on your subject or field of work, exactly what you are specializing in, how good you are at it. People will ask you technical questions in interviews, which is usually if you're in marketing, they'll ask you marketing related questions. If you're in HR, they'll ask you about HR. Finance, they'll ask you about finance. They also test your analytical ability, which is they'll give you a question and ask you to analyze a situation based on how good you are on your subject. Okay. Lateral thinking outside the box. Initiative, how enthusiastic you are about it, and logical reasoning and persistence to solve the problem. Don't give up on solving the problem. And logical reasoning is, of course, coming up with the best answer based on your current knowledge of the subject. Social. So your social characteristics are basically okay. So all four characteristics are equally important in the development of a manager. What I meant by continuous and overall personal development was getting all four characteristics equally developed. None of you can actually say I am a great manager unless you develop all four fields of work. Okay. Even if your technical skills are really strong, you do really well in college, it does not mean your social characteristics are good, your psychological characteristics are good, or your physical characteristics are good. So you need to work on these also. That is what will differentiate you from being a great manager and a good manager, and that is what will help you land those actual good jobs. My friends who are managers at the biggest companies have actually worked on developing all these skills together. So don't think that one of them has more importance than the other. Interviewers look out for all four characteristics in your interviews. Don't think that, okay, I know my book by heart and I know exactly what to answer, so I'm going to get through this interview, or why didn't I get through this interview? I answered all the questions correctly. It's because your other characteristics are weak. So you might be technically strong, but you need to develop the others. Similarly, if you are socially stable, psychologically stable, physically stable, don't worry so much about your technical. Okay, companies still hire you because 3 things are good out of 4, still not a bad deal. The company will teach you the technical stuff, but if you are a good package in the remaining 3, they will accept you. So don't worry about things like that. Work on your continuous overall personal development on all 4 of these. Okay, so social basically covers the atmosphere at the workplace, how you are with your colleagues, how you are with people around you, how you are with decision making, because your social impact, okay, you might make a decision which people may not like, okay? Most of the time when you're a manager, you have to make decisions which you don't like, or which you like and which other people may not like. So that directly affects your social relationship with people. If your social relationship is really good with people, they will stop caring what decision you make. So it helps you with your decision making, it helps your relationship with colleagues, and also helps your communication skills. So and it helps you motivate people. So what do you do to become socially acceptable is try working on this with friends, with colleagues, with family, with whoever, but be in a social atmosphere. Try to make sure that people around you are happy. Try to motivate them when there is a game, when you have a task. Try to apply yourself on these challenges also. Then comes the psychological side of things. Psychological things help work ethic. Like he said, if my mind is stable, I know I am not going to throw a fit, or I am not going to do something extremely drastic against the management, okay? Your psychological state is a direct reflection of the company's image. Tomorrow, say one of you is working for Cognizant, okay? You are a direct reflection of Cognizant, okay? If Cognizant sees that you are psychologically unstable, that this guy cannot represent my company as a brand, they will not hire you, okay? You might be excellent socially or technically, but it's very important that your psychological state of mind remains stable. So you might have pending issues with family or friends, fights. Try not to get involved in situations like these. Keep them away from your mind. Keep your mind clear of problems. It really helps with a job. Be a responsible citizen. It is a very important reflection of what the company thinks of you. Try not to litter. I'm sure most of you don't chew tobacco, etc. But that's what being a responsible citizen is. Being culturally sensitive, being able to accept that other people have an opinion, not being scared to say, I don't know. Very important part in an interview. If you don't know, don't try to bullshit your way through an interview. The interviewer knows what he's saying and he will catch you, okay? So definitely accept your mistake or say, I don't know. And like Mr. Chordia said earlier, be very specific with facts and figures. It's a direct habit you need to start following from now on. Even if you don't, if you're giving vague answers, stop it. Stop doing it consciously. Stop giving vague answers. If somebody asks you, how long are you going to take to get here? Don't say, around 1.5 hours. That is the worst way to do it. Tell them exactly 30 minutes. If you're going to be late, call and say that, okay, I'm going to be 15 minutes late. So, you know, like, try to be very specific with your facts and figures. If somebody asks you, what did you eat today? Say 2 chapatis, 1 bowl of rice, 1 bowl of this thing, okay? Only when you start answering with specifics is when you will get used to actually inculcating these practices at work. So when, like he said, when your boss asks you, when are you going to deliver this project? It's due. You'll say, around Monday, I have to give it to this guy, I have to give it to that guy. Very bad example to follow. Be very specific. Even if you're going to be late, be specific and be very specific with figures also. So if somebody is asking you like, how much money is this going to make us? Don't say around 35 lakhs. You should have your entire breakup down, saying that this is going to make me 5 lakhs, this is going to make me 7 lakhs, and the total works out to 28.9 lakhs. Not around 30, around 35 lakhs. So examples of being specific and not being scared to say, I don't know, when you don't. And the last one, physical, which is your health. A lot of you think that this might not be important if you are actually sitting in one place, but it is actually very important, because all companies nowadays ask you to do a medical. The reason being your health helps determine your longevity in the company. Okay, the first 2 years that you join a company, remember that you are a liability to them. Okay, they are investing in you. Don't think that they need you. The first 1 or 2 years you are absolutely useless to that company. So they will see what kind of health you are in, whether you are the kind of person who's willing to stay for the next 3 years or 4 years or willing to make a commitment. It will help understand your attendance, your sick days, what kind of value you are adding to the company in terms of that. Your attention to detail, of course. Your health is actually a direct reflection of your state of mind. So a lot of companies say that if you are well groomed, well dressed, if you have attention to your physical appearance, you will do the same at work. All these may not necessarily be true, but it's what I have observed in my years of working with people and interacting with managers. So try to work on these. Although you might think dress sense is not important, try to be smart, try to stay fit. If you do have any bad habits, if you do smoke, if you do drink, everyone does it, it's very common, but remember it's a negative on your physical characteristics, and you need to work harder on your technical, social and psychological characteristics. So if you're weak in one, try to work on the other. It's overall development. Do not work on one of these only, do not focus on one. All four together will make you a great manager. Any questions? This is the last bit. Any last questions? None? Looks like I'm an amazing speaker that like I have reached out to everyone. No. Nobody has any questions on the technical, social, psychological and physical side of things? All right. Thank you very much.